Good morning, everyone. So today I've actually got a pretty good video for you guys. So today is actually going to mark my first video for my beekeeping YouTube channel. This is actually something I've really wanted to do for a very long time, and I finally had a chance to do it. So today I'm actually going to be going over and discussing a couple of things about what is inside that. So I actually don't have any bees in it currently. My bees are actually going to be arriving in spring, and I've got approximately 3 packages ordered of bees to kind of get myself started. So, and during the spring and stuff like that, I'll actually be going over a lot of different things like how to install a package, things of that nature, and sort of my first years of beekeeping in and of itself. So make sure you kind of follow me on that, and let's dig into this. Okay, everyone, so pretty much whenever we moved back to North Carolina, I decided that I was going to get into beekeeping. Something I've always wanted to do. My grandfather did it here on our land, and and so I pretty much kind of went full on and kind of invested in some hives. But there's a couple of things I want to just kind of go over. Beekeeping in and of itself, and why we should keep bees and things of that nature. So whether a lot of people believe it or not, bees actually pollinate up to about 1/3 of every bite of food that we consume. So honeybees especially are incredibly important creatures to the environment. But there's a lot of different things that you can get out of beehives. You can get everything from pollen to royal jelly, propolis, beeswax, and of course that one sweet little dessert, honey. So today I'm going to kind of be going over a little bit about what's inside this Langstroth hive. I actually don't have any bees in it currently. My bees are actually on shipment right now, and they will actually be coming in the spring. I've got approximately 3 packages to be coming. So that in turn is going to kind of get me started in the beekeeping industry and kind of get me started in the beekeeping business. So couple of things and stuff like that that we're going to kind of be going over is, like I said, the different components and things of that nature. So we'll kind of go ahead and get into that. So this right here is a traditional Langstroth hive. There's a couple of different types of hives and stuff like that. This right here is probably the most traditional one that you see. If you go out into any kind of field or anybody that really kind of keeps bees, this right here is going to kind of be your traditional type of setup. Okay, so this right here is your traditional top cover, your telescoping cover. On the inside here, it's pretty much just a hollowed out space for the bees, and just to allow for a little bit of air movement and things of that nature. But on the top here, it actually has a white metal backing. This kind of helps keep the bees cool and stuff like that, especially during the spring and summer months, whenever we get up to those really high temperatures. The next component here is your inner cover. So your inner cover actually allows for a space for the bees to actually come up through, and also there is a little space right here to allow for a top entrance into the hive in case the bottom entrance and stuff like that's a little bit too crowded, bees are trying to get in. They actually have a second space to kind of enter and exit throughout the hive up here at the top. The reason for the hole right here is what a lot of people don't know is beekeepers actually have to feed their bees, especially before we hit winter, especially here in North Carolina. You have to feed your bees and kind of get them prepped for winter as things around us start to die out, foliage, everything else. So we actually feed them a 1-to-1 component of sugar water, and that kind of helps get those stores up and kind of gets them ready for winter to kind of make it through that winter portion. So the next 2 boxes here are actually your honey supers. So these supers are a lot smaller. This right here is actually, sort of you know, depending on what your goal is and stuff like that, this right here is sort of where they're going to be storing the honey. Now each frame, as you can see here, is just a little bit smaller, and each frame is, you know, frames are a little bit different. This one right here actually has a foundation, so it's sort of, and just, I mean, like the foundation of a house, it's a starting point. Same concept with beeswax and bees, is this plastic foundation here is actually coated within a little bit of beeswax, and it kind of gives that starting point for those bees to kind of get started building out that wax. Kind of gives them a little bit of a jump start. You can't cut this or anything along those lines. The ones that you can actually cut are the foundationless frames, and typically they will have a wire that runs, you know, sort of across, just to kind of give the bees something kind of attach that wax onto. But for my first year or two or so, I'm only going to be really dealing with foundation frames, in general, just because it's going to make harvesting a little bit easier and things of that nature. So go ahead and get these boxes off here. So your next box, this right here, the actual bottom box is sort of the bee's home in a sense. So the bottom box is actually the brood chamber, and brood is just more or less a beekeeping term for the eggs, you know, larvae, things of that nature. That's where the queen's gonna primarily stay. You know, some beekeepers like to put one brood box down. Others like to put two, especially if you have a large bee colony. You're going to want to kind of give them that room and stuff like that to grow and sort of progress. But these frames, as you can tell, are just a little bit bigger than these. So, you know, you want your hive and stuff like that to really flourish, and that's why these larger frames are actually here in place. But they'll store anything from honey in there. The queen will go around and lay her eggs to, you know, further increase the bee population within the hive. But they'll also, you know, store things like pollen, you know, other things and stuff like that in here as well, to kind of feed bees and, you know, keep the colony going. So your bottom portion here of the hive, go ahead and pull that off. Your next portion of the hive here is actually your bottom board, okay? And this one right here is actually a screened-in bottom board. So it's going to give, and I've heard a lot of different stories and stuff like that. A lot of beekeepers say get a screened-in bottom board. And part of the reason for that is for inspecting things like mites, also inspecting for things like hive beetles, because there's actually a lot of different little pests and stuff like that that will get into a hive and cause a hive to, you know, either collapse or anything along those lines. But essentially, everything will actually go down through here, through this screen here. Any kind of bee droppings or anything like that, anything that they don't want in that hive, they're going to kind of kick out. So it actually gives you a chance to pull this right here out and actually inspect to see what's been in the hive and things of that nature. Oftentimes whenever you do a hive inspection, you'll typically see like a couple of beetles and stuff like that, hive beetles. They're actually inside the hive, and eventually they'll, you know, kind of kick those guys out. So the next thing that I wanted to kind of go over is a little bit about the smaller components of the hive. And I'm going to go ahead and get this set back up here so we can kind of go over some of that. Let me pull this off here. All right. Okay, so next thing I kind of wanted to go over was this metal piece right here. And this is very important if you're going to be harvesting honey or anything like that. But this right here is actually a queen excluder. So as the hive begins to build up, what the bees will do is they will start to work their way up. And when they do that, and if you're wanting to, you know, primarily harvest honey and things of that nature, you're actually really going to want these. So what this does is when you set it on top of your brood box, because remember the queen stays down here, this right here actually keeps her from moving up into the honey supers to prevent her from like laying eggs and things of that nature, because nobody really likes eggs inside their honey. So, and not only that, but it makes for a filthy sifting process. And you're also decreasing that population within the hive. So what beekeepers will do is they'll use this, and honeybees and stuff like that can actually come through this, but it's actually too small of a space for the queen to actually fit her thorax up into the up in past this. So they'll actually go through and they'll put this on top like so, and then they'll take their honey supers and then place them on top of that. And so in turn, what it does is it gives those worker bees and stuff a little bit of, a little bit of that room to get up into here and work. It also, keeps crowding and stuff like that out of the hive down here. It doesn't necessarily keep crowding out, but when you do that and you super a hive, or what they call supering, it gives that little bit of extra room and space so that the hive actually doesn't get crowded and they end up swarming. The next thing is this little piece of wood right here. Now, this right here is called an entrance reducer. So when you first get your hive and stuff like that, you're actually going to be there. They're going to have to get a little bit of time to kind of get worked up and get that population up high enough to where they can properly protect the hive. And honeybees will do this at the entrance of the hive. They'll protect it. They'll protect the entrances. And so this right here actually just has just a few little cut slots right here, and I'll turn it over here. You can see this one right here is just a little bit larger. So whenever I first get my bees, what I'm actually going to be doing is I'm actually going to be using this because I did order package bees. I wasn't able to get my hands on a what they call a nucleus colony, and I'll go over a little bit of a difference between those probably in another video. But essentially, a nucleus has frames of bees, stuff like that. A package just comes with the bees themselves. So whenever I put them in here, they're going to have a lot of work to do to kind of get the frames gone ahead built out with wax and things of that nature. So, but this right here actually just fits right down here at the bottom, and what that does is that provides a little bit of a blockage from other insects that may want to harm the hive or get in there and steal things. Things like rodents, things of that nature. Kind of gives them a little bit of a safety net. Kind of like just turning down the threshold on the door. Okay, guys. So that's a little bit about the components of what a Langstroth hive looks like. If you guys like this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and also leave a comment. I'm going to ask, have you guys thought about beekeeping yourself? If you guys have any questions as far as like what it kind of takes to get into that, I'll be keeping an eye on the comments and stuff like that. But yeah, I'll also leave a link and everything else for the company that actually designed this hive. I actually ordered them unpainted just to kind of save and cut down on costs. And I actually went through and painted them myself. And as well as this hive stand, I actually went through and built myself as well. And I'll leave the link and stuff like that for the schematics and everything for that down below in the info as well. So yeah, guys, I hope you guys have enjoyed it. There's going to be a lot more videos to come, especially once I get my bees. Oh, I cannot wait. But yeah, there'll be a little bit more to come. I think the next video that I'm going to do is hive placement, like where you need to be placing your hive, and some things to consider with that. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed it, and be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks.